much already this morning.
Yes.
Darren, Fiona and Sophie, morning you three, say we're off to the South Lake Safari Park in Ulverston this weekend. Well, actually, it's in Dalton. There you go.
Maybe they're going to a different one.
No. But you have to drive through Ulverston to get there. But you need to actually head to Dalton to get there. So if you're heading there, don't put Ulverston in your sat nav because you won't quite make it. You'll have another 4 miles to go. But there you go. So that should be fun.
So you know the South Lake Safari Park?
Oh yeah. I've never been. I've actually never. All the family go all the time. I've never been.
And it's a proper safari park with lions and tigers and things.
It's got all the bits and bobs.
Oh.
I mean, it's quite small, but it's very popular.
Oh, lovely.
So there you go. Paul in Durham says about the best county. I vote for Durham.
Well, you would.
Why?
I want to know why. Yes, we're talking about best county.
So there you go. Irene says, Anne, you look lovely. A little bit of freshness for the morning.
Well, there you go. I try. You have to try a bit harder when you're tired. And I'm quite tired today. I don't know why.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Oh.
Working too hard.
Well, chance of it, I think.
Sleeping too much.
Not enough, I think. Anyway, let's go through the papers for you this morning. Former Conservative advisor Claire Pearsall and legendary broadcaster Diddy David Hamilton. Good to see you both this morning. How are you?
Thank you.
Yeah, it's lovely to see you, yeah. And David was telling us there's no moon this morning,
No.
which is a bit of a worry.
It was really
didn't
dark
see one.
coming in this morning. I mean, I know there's a full moon, there's a half moon, there's a crescent moon.
And there's waxing and
Today,
waning moon.
Yeah,
there was no moon at all. It was just absolutely... I wonder if the moon, like everybody else, has gone on strike.
Well, I hope
Maybe.
not.
There's a gibbous moon.
There is.
I can't remember quite what a gibbous moon is now, but
There's also a moon window.
what's a moon window?
Well, exactly. I had to look this up because I've been writing about the history of radar, and they were all the scientists. Churchill moved them during a moon window, and apparently a moon window is when the waxing or waning of the moon benefits you rather than the enemy.
Oh.
So depending on if you're moving people, you need to move them in the dark because you don't want the enemy to see that you're moving them or something like that. It's called a moon window. If anyone knows any more, I'd love to know, please, because apparently Churchill used that phrase. So maybe it's a moon
Well,
window.
there's an awful lot of mooning going on there.
There is. Trust you to get that in.
my gosh.
Right.
By the way, can I just say there's no truth in the rumour that I'm here for the new series of Gladiators.
Oh.
Just in case you thought I might be.
Well, I thought you might, actually.
You'd be
a good
a
one.
great host,
He'd be a
David.
terrific host. Yes.
There you go.
Yeah. Are you
I
ready?
think not.
Anyway, let's talk leadership. Claire, in the Telegraph, Sunday Telegraph.
To get away from the moon for the moment. This is Liz Truss and her sort of ever-changing Treasury plans. I just wonder how much of this is to put it out there to see if anybody likes the idea before it goes ahead. You do get that kind of feeling of floating a policy, see how it goes, before they take it up as their own plans.
So tell her what's the latest idea that's got the press today?
So this one is a VAT cut, the 5% VAT cut on energy bills, which would instantly help families. And I think it works out to be about £1,300 a year we would be better off with energy bills. Now it is, for a Conservative, this is really quite a big step, and it's more of the sort of Gordon Brown school of motoring. This is what he did during the financial crisis in 2008. A 5% cut would cost the government £3.2 billion a year, which is an enormous amount of money. However, I think we now need to look at what families are going to be going through in the winter, how cold people are going to be if they can't afford to use the gas and electricity, and work out if this is in any way possible. I think we
And
are
even
now
if it's
down
enough.
to this. I don't think it is going to be enough. I really, really don't. I mean, I think the government is setting us up quite nicely for the potential of blackouts in January. We've had that dripping in over the last few weeks. And you can see that it's going to be an enormous amount that is needed to make this any better. But unfortunately, what we have to do is one of these quite nuclear options really, really quickly.
And this would be fast, wouldn't it?
This would be very, very fast. And it would help almost immediately.
Anyone here remember the 3-day week?
I don't.
Yeah,
Right?
absolutely, yes.
do.
I do, yeah.
I remember doing my homework by candlelight.
I remember all that back in the 70s. 3-day working week, rampant inflation. Yes.
Just all the rubbish piling up in the
Rubbish
streets,
everywhere.
much as it is in Edinburgh. at the moment.
History repeating itself, isn't it?
They do say if you live long enough, history always repeats.
Everything comes round again.
Here we go again. I mean, I don't know whether in modern days anyone would accept this, the idea. I mean, back then, yes, they said, all right, you're only going to get your electricity 4 days a week, and for 3 days, you will get no electricity, which is an astonishing thing. I can't even imagine people taking that.
I don't think it would work now because we're so reliant on technology and electricity in a way that we weren't
Yes,
before.
that's true.
Yeah.
Actually, it would actually have a huge impact on a different impact on people.
But also, we all use it differently. People are working from home. People work different hours. You couldn't, suggest that it's going to go off between 8 and 9 because people are working at those times. Our lives are different to where they were in the 70s and 80s.
Yeah, I mean, we wouldn't get all the internet, would we?
No.
I think my child might explode if he
exactly.
use his devices at home.
Your radio station go off the air, David.
Yes, no, I've just got my own generator in case that happens. I'm ready for every eventuality.
You can afford to put fuel in the generator.
Well, that's another issue, isn't it, of course? But no, I have actually just gone out and got myself a generator because if everything goes off, I won't be able to broadcast.
No, you've got to do.
My listener will miss me.
He will. He will.
To send them a postcard instead.
Let's talk about the NHS crisis and the Sunday Times, David.
Yes, indeed. Well, apparently Britain has fallen out of love with the NHS. I would have thought this would have been happening for a long time. A poll has revealed that 3 in 5 people now expect delays. There is a shortage of ambulances, a shortage of beds. I must say that I have recently been having treatment at St Luke's Hospital in Guildford and on the NHS, and they have been absolutely wonderful. And I think as soon as you mention the word cancer, suddenly people do take notice. But other than that, the biggest problem, of course, is seeing a doctor.
What, a GP,
Isn't it?
you mean?
A GP,
Yes.
yeah. That. It's not hospitals. I think it's doctors are the biggest problem. And even with the treatment I'm having, I've never seen my GP.
Really?
Incredible, yeah. I just went straight to hospital.
But this poll seems to be suggesting that we've fallen out of love with the health service, that we now sort of accept the fact that even if we need health care, we're not going to get it, or we're going to have to wait ages for it.
I think everybody realises that it's the government's fault and not enough money has been ploughed into the NHS. And I think, as with everything else, blame the government.
Well,
I don't think it's necessarily just about the money. I think it's how we use the health service. Now that we're all living longer, more conditions can be treated. The NHS wasn't set up to deal with the amount of people that we have, the conditions, the different technologies. Things are more expensive. I don't necessarily think it's about the amount of money that's going into it. I think the management of the NHS as a whole needs to be looked at. The layers of management and the different jobs that you don't necessarily need, diversity leaders, etc. When it just needs to be structured a lot better.
Yes, but when you look at it, the structure of the NHS was designed in the 1950s, wasn't it? And it was a very different world then.
but if we're falling out of love with it, maybe that means people will be more willing to see some major changes.
That's it.
Which would be interesting.
Yeah.
Well, what reality is there of that actually happening?
Well,
Where do you begin?
don't know.
Well,
That's
no
above my
politician.
pay grade.
Yeah, no politician is going to want to do that before a general election. They would be seen as tinkering with you can't tinker
And that's
with the
the funny
NHS.
thing about the great British public is that we love our NHS. No one else is allowed to criticise it, apart from us. And if anybody wants to change it, we will have a big problem with
That's
it.
right. We won't let them.
It's a really difficult one for politicians.
Didn't somebody say this week, if you have to beg, steal or borrow, go privately?
That's right. That was a clinician.
Who
in
said that
Birmingham. It was
this
a
week?
West Midlands
Yeah.
consultant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what a frightening thing to say.
Yes,
to tell
it
Well,
people
it is.
that.
Yeah.
It is, and even if you beg, steal, and borrow, it's still out of the range for an awful lot of people, which is the issue. The civil service in the Sunday Telegraph. Jacob Rees-Mogg wants to sell off their offices.
No, I don't think this is an all bad idea, if I'm honest. He, Jacob Rees-Mogg, thinks that he can, raise sort of £500 million worth of savings, a sell-off of £1.5 billion worth of government offices sitting empty in Whitehall. Well,
Good.
Prime real estate sitting empty, why not sell it off? It's quite interesting. It's not just a work from home ethic, but also the government has moved a lot of offices outside of London. For example, 7,000 jobs now are outside of London, including 1,389 in Yorkshire and Humber. If you're looking at spreading this across the country, people are working differently, could be hybrid working, then you don't need a static office in the middle of Whitehall, costing you X many millions pounds a year. So I don't think it's a bad idea. I know that this will ruffle some feathers amongst the civil servants themselves, but if you're not using
But if they're not in there,
what's the point in having it sitting there empty when it could be sold off? It's not your problem. You don't have the ongoing costs, and especially of energy costs.
we need the money right now. But it would be nice if they could be turned into housing. You know, because we need housing. We don't need more offices.
And I think that's the real issue, isn't it? Is what you use the space for.
But it would be very expensive housing, wouldn't it? It's going to be elite flats.
Well, but that again is the point. It shouldn't.
Yeah,
be.
and
It
unfortunately, it would.
It should be affordable housing.
But
That's
agree.
what we need.
We need, you know, some smaller properties so that people can start off on the housing ladder, or also afford
So that they
rent
can live near
in
their
central
work.
London. Absolutely. You think where Whitehall is? It's right near to
St Thomas's
Guy's and
Hospital.
St Thomas's.
Yeah.
You could have health staff living there.
Yes.
You don't need to have this as prime office space. And I've been in some of the offices in Whitehall, and they're beautiful buildings. But they're the worst used buildings that I think I've seen, with the waste of space. So yeah, I'm all for selling those off, putting the money back into the economy. But as Anne said, if we can do something with the housing crisis, then I think the government would be onto a winner.
He's going to be levelling up, Minister, under Liz Truss, isn't he, Jacob?
Apparently so. Apparently so.
Well,
which
maybe this is a good
caused
way of levelling up.
Yes, yeah. I mean, putting jobs out, you know, into places like Sheffield and into the Humberside area, perfect. Why not? Absolutely. Why should government always be centred around London?
Yeah, fair dues, as we say. We're got to leave it there for the time being, Claire and David, but we will catch up with you a little bit later on. Thank you.